In order to make the video on USS West Virginia and other long video topics more doable, uh, considering the long and interesting service career, this will be the first of however many videos that need it that will be split into several parts. In this case, starting with its pre-war history, which will be covered here, then Pearl Harbor and the aftermath, and then the wartime and post-war career. As usual, I've done a video covering the stats of the Colorado-class battleship already, and I've also done videos on West Virginia's three sisters as well, so be sure to go check those out. USS West Virginia BB-48 was laid down by the Newport News Shipbuilding Company in Newport News, Virginia on April 12, 1920, launched November 17, 1921, and commissioned on December 1, 1923. The ship, technically the fourth of the class, was the third and last completed. USS Washington BB-47 being canceled by the Washington Naval Treaty, thus creating an annoying anomaly in U.S. battleship hull numbers. Her first commander was Captain Thomas J. Senn. The typical sea trials, a shakedown, and necessary repairs were conducted in the Hampton Roads area, and when she was fitted out and broken in, she sailed north to New York Navy Yard for additional alterations before returning to Virginia. While en route, her steering gear malfunctioned, and so after an overhaul, she was underway again on June 16, 1924. Later, while cruising through the Lynnhaven Channel, the engine telegraphs to the engine room and steering compartment lost power at 10:10 hours, rendering the ship unmaneuverable. Voice tubes needed to be used to communicate, and Captain Senn was able to command the ship to execute an engine turn with the port engines at full power and the starboard engine stopped to avoid grounding. This didn't work, and she grounded anyway after drifting out of the channel, though she wasn't damaged. An inquiry was opened into the accident and stated that incorrect navigational data had over-exaggerated the size of the channel and thus exonerated Senn and the ship's navigator. On the 30th of October 1924, and no longer grounded, the ship became flagship for the Commander Battleship Division Battle Fleet. She fell into a routine of training and periodic overhauls punctuated by the U.S. Navy's fleet problems, which were exercises that stress-tested doctrinal and operational strategies. These would prove invaluable in the decades to follow, but they'll need their own video to fully explain them. These operations took place in both the Atlantic and the Pacific, as far north as Alaska and as far south as Panama. In 1925, under the command of Captain Arthur Jappy Hepburn, I'm sure I just pronounced that one wrong, but I'm trying here, the ship won a competition for short-range shooting as well as the Battle Efficiency Ribbon. She also participated in joint Army-Navy maneuvers in Hawaii to test the defense of the islands. This was followed by a trip across the Pacific to Australia and New Zealand. She would win battle efficiency ribbons in 1927, 1932, and 1933. During Fleet Problem 10 in March 1930, though, she was bombed by carrier aircraft from USS Lexington. The next year, she accidentally engaged a member of the friendly Black Fleet, USS Saratoga, with USS Tennessee. This incident cost the Black Fleet their carrier and resulted in calls for improved communication between ships and better ship identification training. Because, shooting at your own ships is not really a good thing. Minor modifications continued into the 1930s, where her 3-inch anti-aircraft guns were replaced with 5-inch 25 caliber guns and 50 cal Browning machine guns installed on her forward and main masts, as well as aircraft catapults on her number 3 turrets, the rear superfiring turret. In Fleet Problem 14, in February 1933, she and USS Arizona were damaged by Black Fleet subs. Mid-1930s plans for modernization planned to add anti-torpedo bulges. This would add 2,000 tons, but add additional reserve buoyancy. However, this was never carried out, and the upgrades were said to be done in 1937 with her sister ships and the Tennessee class. These upgrades would include new boilers, new fire control systems, the aforementioned torpedo bulges, amongst others. Further upgrades in 1938 were rejected due to cost, and that any upgrades would still leave the ships inferior to the new North Carolina and South Dakota class fast battleships. Then, as with so many other things, war were declared. September 1st, 1939, Germany invades Poland. The outbreak of what would become World War II saw Admiral Ernest King lead a board to evaluate shipboard anti-aircraft defense, as well as adding blisters to restore freeboard. This board would result in the adoption of the superb 5-inch 38 dual-purpose gun and a strengthening of West Virginia and others' decks. However, due to the likelihood of war breaking out, especially in the Pacific with the U.S. Navy's primary eastern rival, the Empire of Japan, only the bulges were fitted. West Virginia was slated to have these modifications made during the summer of 1941, but this wasn't done. The last Fleet Problem 21, was held in April 1940. By this time, the Second Sino-Japanese War was in full swing, which had caused the U.S. to transfer the fleet from their base in California to a new base further in the Pacific, Pearl Harbor. This was done as a deterrent to Japanese aggression. The Pacific Fleet spent 1941 occupied with training to prepare for the anticipated war with Japan. As the diplomatic situation broke down, some admirals like Halsey were already operating under wartime conditions as of late November 1941. The Navy sought to improve its anti-aircraft defenses with the new 1.1-inch Chicago piano guns in production, though slow, and the old 3-inch guns were brought up to make up the difference. West Virginia had an additional 11 50 caliber Brownings at this time. In June, the men of West Virginia manufactured a makeshift gun shield for the 5-inch guns, which would later be applied to other ships. She also had 1.1-inch guns installed in February 1942, but that was still in the future. USS West Virginia found herself alongside the rest of the Pacific Fleet moored along Battleship Row in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii on the morning of Sunday, December 7th, 1941. And that is where we're going to leave the story for now. Hope you enjoyed the video. Look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye.